How's it going, everybody? It's WrongTime here, and I'm back with another Storytime with WrongTime video. Now, if you're a fan of the series, then you'll probably be glad to hear that I'm back with Gangs of Criham. Now, thing is, this has actually undergone a change of name, so I'm gonna now call it Criham the Abandoned City from here on out, just so you're aware. Alright. But let's stop with the, all that talk. Let's get right into it. Chapter 8. Everyone have their radios on? Asks Pauside. Once we leave, it's mostly the only way we'll be talking to each other. Everyone checks their radios, and all are on tune and on the same channel. Good. Now let's go. Everybody piles into the cars. Dayton, Pauside, Will, and Finn pile into one car for the ground teams, while Wayne, Sebastian, Skip, and Theodore climb into the other. It's about 8 o'clock at night, and it's currently downpouring. The rain's pattering against the car, making a sound on par with that of a firecracker in the distance. Everyone, excluding Floyd, has a ski mask in case things go really, really bad. Does anybody know how we'll be getting out of this bloomin' city? Asks Will. You're all aware that the boss told us to march directly under the border patrol's noses and expects everything to go swimmingly. You never listen, do you, Will? Shouted Marvin. We're going to stop at the clothes store, bring the owner, since the boss convinced him to do us a favor, and he's going to convince the guards that he's bringing his CEOs and to convince the competitor to sell them their business. Considering that this guy's got good graces with the competitor, the head officer, I think this will end up going fine. 5 minutes pass before they all show up at the clothing store, pick up the owner, and begin heading towards the exit tunnel. Anybody else got a feeling this will go south real fast? Asks Skip, to nobody in particular. No, I seriously doubt it, since we're only stealing ballistic vests rather than something of value, like making a smash and grab on a jewelry store, answered Sebastian. Besides, it's my job to ensure that doesn't happen, right? What kind of criminal would I be if I couldn't do something as simple as look at stuff? Everyone let out a light laugh before Theodore slid in his 2 cents. I ain't worried. Worst case scenario, we get seen. So what? Just claim that you're trying on a vest to see if it fits right or not. No big deal. While everyone's quiet, Wayne began humming to alarm the others. Everyone looked out the windows and they found that they were approaching the tunnel, and suddenly they were filled with worry. Even Theodore, who seemed to have the least to worry about. Other than the shop owner himself. They drive through, and on the other end, they find fully armed SWAT team members managing the tunnel to in and out of Criham City. The shop owner steps out of the van, he was riding shotgun and begins talking to the head officer. He must have some kind of special relationship with the guy, because he lets him go without a single search. While they are safely far enough away from the checkpoint, Floyd spoke up. How on earth did you manage to pull that off? Oh, I simply threatened to no longer sell him crack if he doesn't let us through. That comment rang in everyone's ears, and whatever was making them nervous paled in comparison to this level of fear. Wait, so what would have happened if he detained you, then and there, for threatening to cut him off? Asks Finn suspiciously. Then he wouldn't have had any more crack. Seems simple to me. Nobody could argue with that, but they all are still on edge. How long is the ride till we reach the store? Floyd asks. Traveling isn't my preferred way to spend my time. Number one perk of getting things off the internet is never having to leave. I'd say about 40 minutes until we reach the store, Vincent said. Floyd groaned and proceeded to drive impatiently. Hey, Pauside, got any cards with you? Asked Dayton. No. If I did, I'd be using them right now, answered Pauside. This is going to be a long ride, sighed Dayton. Any of you guys know much about the city we're entering? Asked Theodore. Well, we just entered Blackwall, said Sebastian. Place has a generally clean reputation of criminals. Most cities around Criham do. They send us criminals here and rely on us to kill each other rather than sending us to prison. Been like that for years. Somewhere along the line, though, one guy set up a bar and ended up doing really well, since the shop was the only source of relaxation. Nobody dared mess with him, since he could pack up and leave at any moment, and they wanted to keep that luxury for as long as possible. Soon after, people saw his success. More and more people came to Criham to try and become as successful as him. I guess people saw the success and tried to follow in his footsteps. Yeah, but that didn't really answer his question, said Finn. I know we're all interested in your history lesson, but I, too, want to know what we're getting ourselves into. Sorry. Blackwall is, like I said, a criminally clean city, for the most part. That doesn't mean people are happy, though. Think of it as dictatorship. Everyone is under constant threat of being thrown into Criham or getting killed, even more so than the other cities around Criham. So much as sneeze in the wrong direction, and you'll be thrown into Criham. Did you cross the street in a spot that wasn't a crosswalk? Throw 'em into Criham. Drive 1 mile per hour or faster than legal? Criham. With this place, if you don't follow the law to the smallest dot, then you'll be thrown into our city, or shot on sight. At least this place looks nice. Looks like Las Vegas Strip, except cleaner. Oh, so, it's either we're going to pull us off without a hitch, or wind up in body bags, since we're not even legally supposed to be here, said Fyodor. Yeah, that sounds about right, Sebastian answered. Great. Nice knowing you guys, Finn moaned. Relax, Finn, said Dayton. We've been in worse situations. You and Will robbed banks together, right? What would be harder than that? Even if we fail, the end result is about the same. That is true, said Will. How many times have we had to get into shootouts with the cops back in Caperhold? You know, the desert city? How many of our crew members died on the job? The only difference with this is that our bank robberies is that this is easier. Whoops. You have a fair point. Yeah, sorry about that. Clip had noise and I forgot to edit it out, so I had to do it after that whole recording. But regardless, where was I? That is true, said Will. How many times have we gotten into shootouts with cops back in Caperhold? You know, that desert city. How many of our crew members died on the job? The only difference with this is that our bank robberies are that much easier. Or that this is easier. You have a fair point, said Finn in agreement. I guess this is easier than robbing banks. Wait a minute. No. Well, hold on now. We were robbing banks in Caperhold, not Blackwall. In Caperhold, you could get away with murder, so long as it was quiet enough. In Blackwall, if you dropped your coffee in the streets, you'd be detained before you could scream out, I know my rights. I don't think that this is going to be easier. Chances are they have security watching us just because they don't know our darkest secrets. I think this is going to go much worse than our usual hits. Then what would make you feel better? Finn asked Skip. I'd like you to call the boss and say that if things go south, we'll need about 10 more vans of crew members and a couple hundred body bags to boot. No can do, Finn, said Floyd across the radio. Police track people's phones like nobody's business. Say anything even remotely strange, you'll only have SWAT teams on your 9 ways to Sunday. Great. This is going to be a long night. They show up to the store and drop off the store owner across the street. They all head into position and begin executing their plan to get ballistic vests. Wayne and Sebastian walk to either side of the store, since it's a medium-sized store, where it's not a comic book store level small, but also isn't general store levels of big. And Dayton sets up a toss-out a window away from everybody else in the store and packing the vests into one of their cars, but while Pauside, Will, Finn, and Fyodor begin moving gear towards the window in serpentine maneuvers to prevent bystanders from catching on to what they're doing. Finn is doing his best to try and keep everyone's focus off of Pauside, Will, Finn, and Fyodor and onto him. They were doing pretty well. They had half of a shelf cleared, meaning they had enough ballistic vests to give to like 25 gang members. But that's not enough to fuel their assault on the honey badgers. They need more. Too bad these things look hideous, muttered Pauside to the others. I know. I think they look pretty good on with my winter jacket. Or I don't know, replied Fyodor. You think everything looks good for clothing? Yeah. Why do you think I steal so many outfits? Could you quit your arguing and get the vests out of the window, please? Said Dayton. You've got all of them stashed in the car now, and I need more. Yeah, I'm on it, said Will, while him and Finn begin doubling up on vests they bring back. Meanwhile, Skip is arguing with the cashier over shampoo, and is causing a huge scene. What do you mean this is the premium shampoo? Skip shouts at the cashier. I know what premium shampoo looks like, and this ain't this. And it ain't this. This is something that you make with sand and salt. There's no way this will do my hair any good. Skip knew his last two sentences didn't make any sense, and that was the point. He needs everybody to wonder what he's even talking about, but also have it sound sane enough so that they don't throw him into a hospital. "Sir, please calm down," asked the cashier in a calm and collected tone, despite him sweating like he just ran a marathon in a hurricane. "I'm sure this will work just fine, if you simply use it." "You don't know anything, do you? This shampoo came from Egypt, and everybody knows Egypt is a desert. What else would they make it with other than sand and salt water from the shoreline? The shampoo was definitely not from Egypt, but instead came from Colorado. Look here, Glycol, Egypt. You can't argue with me there, sir. I think you're mistaken, sir. That does not say Egypt, but that's the contents of the shampoo. I thought somebody like you would have known that." "Did you just say I'm full of myself?" No, sir. I would never." Skip began shouting before the cashier could finish his sentence. "Oh, that does it. Where's your manager? I want to report to customer harassment." I have your number, sir." Skip begins frantically darting his head around, pretending to look for the manager, while the cashier desperately tried to change the subject. All the while, Wayne and Sebastian made sure nothing would get past them. But Skip was making their job easy. They didn't have to worry about cameras either, since Floyd made them show pre-recorded video of their aisles with nobody in them, so the camera manager wouldn't get suspicious, and he could look through them willy-nilly. He then notices an employee coming out of the employee lounge, and he's heading straight towards the center of Will, Finn, Fyodor, and Pauside. Then Wayne and Sebastian noticed when she entered a little closer. Wayne began humming nervously. Everyone got tense. "Guys, we have somebody walking straight towards you two." "Straight towards you," said Floyd. "Yep, I just saw her walk by. You guys need to either act natural or hide," said Sebastian. Will and Finn, close to the window, threw their vests out and speedily walked towards the shelf and pretended to look at things intently. Fyodor held the vest and acted like he was considering buying it, even though he definitely wasn't. And Pauside tucked his vest behind a few military bags, and picked up one and began checking it. "Whew, it's cold in here. Do you guys feel that?" asked the woman. Everybody ran cold with a sudden realization that the window was open, and a pile of vests were just outside it. "Oh, here's the problem. Somebody opened the window." She began walking towards the window. "Stop her," said Floyd. Finn bolted towards her and asked her a question. "You work here, right? Can you show me where I find the helmets?" "Yes, I can. Just give me a second to shut this window and I'll help you find them." No, I got this. You seem like a nice person. I won't want you to cut your hands on this broken window." The window wasn't broken. "I don't think it's broken." "Wait a minute. I think I see a shard." She begins walking toward the window, and with a gasp, noticed the vest just outside it. She scrambles for her panic button as she has for emergencies like this, and she manages to press it just before Will clubs her with a metal helmet. The alarm began sounding off, and Vincent and Marvin prepared for the worst to come. "What just happened? I told you guys she was coming!" screamed Floyd, while everybody hoofed it for the vests, threw on their ski masks, and began stealing as many vests as they could carry. Dayton drives the car into the side of the building, allowing for an easier way to stash the vests, and then joins them. He leaves the car running so he doesn't waste time starting the engine again. "I told you things would go bad. Now we've got to fight through the entire SWAT team's ranks," screamed Finn. Blackwall has high taxes, so they can replace all of their standard officers with SWAT members. 2 minutes of stashing mounds of vests later, and the SWAT team shows up, and they begin storming the building. The Grey Pistol Posse crew pull out their guns, prepare for an assault. Will and Finn begin securing hostages and move them to the back of the store. And while Marvin begins picking the officers off, while Vincent begins taking pot shots at whoever he can pull the trigger at. The officers bust through the door and are climbing in through the windows to get into the gun shop, and they attempt to rescue some civilians, but are forced to flee after they lost most of the men who went inside and saved only 2 hostages. The SWAT team have set up a mini fortress of their SWAT vans and are preparing to charge inside. Lieutenant Gage, a loyal and disciplined SWAT member, asks his captain for what he thinks should be their course of action. "They must have like 20 hostages in there, sir," shouted Lieutenant Gage. "Orders, sir." 1 second. We can't take all the civilians out of the building. That would take too long. I want somebody in there, taking out those thieves and vandals, shouted Captain Winston back. But, sir, won't there be civilian casualties if we do that, just from the crossfire alone? Did you just talk back to me? You're lucky I don't throw you into Criham, Lieutenant. Now quit waiting around and get in there. Lieutenant Gage collected a group of 10 SWAT officers and began an assault on the gun store. Over the screaming, gunfire, and falling shelves, Lieutenant Gage attempted to sneak around the gang members and rescue the hostages in the back. He managed to save 5 hostages by helping them through windows before Dayton noticed him across the room and begins firing at him. Lieutenant Gage takes a couple bullets to the chest and one to the faceplate. The whole gang has armor-piercing rounds, so SWAT armor doesn't do much, especially if Marvin is who shot you. Lieutenant Gage fell to the ground and blacked out. The bullets that hit his chest didn't hit anything life-threatening, but the one that got his faceplate shattered it and went into his head. It took the remaining 3 men that were left to carry him out, and only one of those 3 were left alive. The remaining SWAT officer screamed for a medic, as he knew the lieutenant was still alive since he could feel his breathing, and so the nearby ambulance helped him on a stretcher and brought him to the hospital. They began surgery on him immediately, and 3 weeks later, he made as much of a recovery as he ever will. The only thing wrong with him, though, was that he didn't quite think the same way. He won't be a SWAT officer anymore. Good God, Dayton, you just capped that guy, screamed Fyodor as he looked for an opening to get away. Well, get used to it, Fyodor. This is the kind of work you signed up for, and it hasn't changed at all since I became a part of it. They had managed to grab all the vests they can, and Will and Finn were stripping the dead SWAT officers for pieces of their armor. Dayton shouted to everyone that they had what they needed, and that he was going to leave soon, regardless if they were in the car or not. The crew got the message and began piling into the car. When there wasn't any more space, they waited for Dayton to pull out so the remaining people could leave through a hole he left and get into the other car available. Sebastian, Wayne, Fyodor, and Pauside were ready to leave. Hey, Marvin, Vincent, we need you guys to focus fire on the hole so that we can get into our cars, said Sebastian, ready to make a dead sprint to the car. I got it. I'll make sure nobody gets close to you, replied Marvin. I'd better not get my suit ruined because you idiots thought running out into the open was a good idea, hissed Pauside, as he groaned over all the blood on his suit. Looks like it's ruined already, said Fyodor. What do you think, Wayne? Wayne nodded in agreement and then got ready to run. Well, sounds like there's nobody else around the corner, said Sebastian, after the sniper fire stopped. Let's go. Sebastian ran out and was immediately riddled with bullets. He gasped for air and tried crawling back to the gang for help. Pauside called up Marvin on the radio. Hey, Marvin, what just happened? Sebastian tried to leave, and he got jumped by SWAT team. We need you, man. There was no response. Hey, are you listening? We're setting ducks in here, and we kind of need you. No response. Marvin? Pauside's face went white, and he was full of disbelief. Fyodor and Wayne looked at Pauside in the same amount of shock or horror, while Fyodor desperately tried to prevent Sebastian from bleeding out. It wasn't working. He was shot in the neck, and a tourniquet isn't going to help that. Fyodor continued to try and stop the bleeding, and he didn't stop until a few minutes after his body went limp and lifeless. Fyodor went stiff with horror. We're going to die in here, aren't we? Fyodor asked shakily. Nobody spoke up, but the 3 of them knew the answer. A minute later, they heard the screeching of tires, gunfire, and about 30 different thuds of something heavy hitting metal. Vincent had gotten into the car and drove into the hole Dayton left and offered them a ride. The 3 of them climbed in, and they drove off. Floyd followed a few minutes later. Gah! How are we going to shake these guys? This is a nightmare, shouted Vincent, while he fired blindly behind them, hoping to hit something of worth. Pauside joined him in that regard and began shooting out the window with him. Wayne and Floyd didn't do much, since neither of them were experienced in combat. Dayton, Skip, where are you guys? We're already at the hideout, along with Will and Finn. Where are you? Shouted Dayton through the radio. Oops, sorry. We're heading in your direction, but we're being tailed by at least 5 of these guys. Don't forget about me, said Floyd. I have to follow you guys without getting seen. Otherwise, I'm gonna get shot up too. Can't you just wait for, like, a day and be able to get it in scot-free? Asked Pauside. Oh, yeah, I guess so. I'll be back tomorrow. Floyd turned around and left. Vincent was still trying to prevent the SWAT officers from blowing his tires and ended up having to dodge the spike trails. They managed to reach the tunnel to Criham, where an ambush point the Grey Pistol Posse set up to prevent the SWAT team from getting into Criham and killing everyone. Thankfully, though, the SWAT teams aren't that stupid, and they know that Criham was actually for, so they stopped at the entrance of the tunnel. Vincent, Fedor, Pauside, and Wayne then pulled up to the hideout, where they found Dayton and Will unloading their car invested in SWAT armor and putting them in the lobby. Fedor fell out of the car and proceeded to dry heave. "That's it. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm gonna go take a nap," said Fedor in between heaves, and he proceeded to walk into the apartment building and went to his room. "Sounds like he just had his actual first gunfight," said Dayton as he brought the last few vests into the building. When there were no more vests to store, Pauside went to the boss and informed him about the casualties. "Marvin died along with Sebastian," said Marco. "Marvin was our best sniper, so we'll need to find someone to fill that position. Sebastian, though? People like him are a dime a dozen. He's not that big a deal." The boss had Ronnie mark down Marvin Sebastian was deceased, and then had him collect everyone to the lobby. When everyone was in the lobby, Marco began his speech. "Okay, so you've probably noticed the ballistic vests over in the back corner, if you have working eyes, that is. So that should be a telltale sign that the heist was a success. But you've also probably noticed that we're missing 3 people. Now don't worry, Floyd is coming back tomorrow, since he was never seen during the job. Marvin and Sebastian, though, they are dead. Marvin was our best sniper, so he will be missed. Since he's dead, we need to fill this position. We won't last too long without a lookout sniper, so if anybody knows of one, be sure to give me their details when I'm finished with the speech. Alright, since the mission was a success, we can begin our assault on the Honey Badgers, and that will happen tomorrow. So rest up, relax, and be prepared for a fight. That is all." Everyone walks into their rooms and does whatever it is they do. And Dayton goes to his room to play Texas Hold'em with his boss, Pauside, Will, Skip, and whoever else wants to join. As is almost tradition whenever they pull off a big job. Even Johnny decides to join. They all play cards while Vincent begins telling his stories and drinking rum. Dayton laughs to his absurd stories and grabs a drink. Alright, that's the end of Chapter 8. Now, hold on. Now, I would read the next chapter, but I just looked ahead. It is massive, alright? And since this video has already been running on for like 20 minutes now, I'm gonna have to say this is the end of the video. So, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll probably add another video just like this soon. Hopefully. Now, I'll see you in the next one. Alright, bye.